All right, thanks for tuning in once again. It's Ishmael Sistrunk with the St. Louis American and STLamerican.com here with Palmer Alexander III, our Rams Roundup correspondent, and we are here with our Rams Roundup. Palmer, interesting week this week. The St. Louis Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. In San Francisco, the way that the Rams played the previous week, we both expected them to lose. We both expected them to give up a lot of points. But as we've seen many times before, the Rams, they shock you. When you're ready for them to get whooped, they play a great game. When you're ready for them to beat a team, that they should win, then they lose badly. So the trend continued, the inconsistencies. The Rams beat the San Francisco 49ers 13-10. Crazy game. A lot of weird happenings that game. But first, tell us, how did the Rams manage to go into San Francisco and come away with the victory?
Well, you know what, man? They came away with that victory mainly because they stuck to their core principles. And that was putting a hat on the hat. That was being disciplined in the running lanes. That's not allowing a lot of cutback runs. That was having containment of Colin Kaepernick. That was allowing Colin Kaepernick not to be a focal point of the running game at all. I mean, just totally taking him out of the game. And they stuck to those core principles, and that was one of the reasons why they came in with that win. I mean, you're right. I mean, they have had a habit of being very inconsistent, but they have won games like this before. Nobody picked them to win, but this was some sort of a rallying cry, Ishmael, for Jeff Fisher. And when he wins games like this, he looks at, especially me, somebody that's been critical of him, like, I told you so, I know what the hell I'm talking about. Well, you won. Hey, you did. You won the game, but you're 3-5. You got 8 games left remaining.
Now, tell me, how do the Rams come into this game? They had not had very many sacks throughout the season. Again, we had seen them turn it on the previous 2 weeks where they finally started to show some life. But 8 sacks against Colin Kaepernick and the San Francisco 49ers. And how do they manage to, almost always play well against Colin Kaepernick and Russell Westbrook or Russell Wilson?
Well, I think it was a great adjustment by Jeff Fisher, and I think Greg Williams, too. I mean, you have to think about it. Prior to this contest, where the Rams lost so many players in their last game, last week, when they lost to Kansas City 34-7. I mean, then, they actually had a walkthrough practice. So, I mean, they had one less day of actually, putting the pads on. I think that made a difference. The Rams' legs looked fresh. I mean, and they was actually getting to the quarterback, not just pushing the pocket, but they was actually making plays. And, I mean, who knows, had Kaepernick has not been as athletic as he already is, I mean, Rams could probably had 10, 11 sacks this past Sunday.
Yeah, and you always like to see Robert Quinn. He got it in, again, 2 sacks. William Hayes with 2 sacks, but 8 sacks total, and I believe that's more sacks than they had going into that game. They had like 7 sacks, I believe, going into that game, or maybe it was right at 8. But just amazing to see how, when you count this team out, that they come back and win. But how will they be able to sustain that? Because we haven't really seen them be able to keep any positive momentum going so far.
Well, I'll tell you something, though. I think that win is even means more than the win against the Super Bowl champions. I mean, if you stay with me for a second, it's just the natural rivalry with the San Francisco 49ers. It's just the pure disdain that the St. Louis Rams have for the San Francisco 49ers. And it just the emotion of when those two franchises collide. This game means a lot. I mean, the Rams look pissed off. I mean, they hit Kaepernick a lot. They hurried him. I think he was hurried like 18 times. I mean, they hit him. I mean, there was a couple of times where I thought he was going to end up getting beheaded. I mean, they was hitting him hard. They hitting him often. So that was a pleasant thing to see, and I'm hoping that the Rams can be able to carry it over. And again, I don't think they scared of the Arizona Cardinals. I know the Cardinals are 7-1, and they are that team that's looking like they can come out of the NFC, but we got 8 games left to play in the season, and the Rams are not scared of the Arizona Cardinals. And just after they just beat the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco, and then they beat the champs a couple weeks prior, they're not scared of anybody.
Well, not being scared is different from being able to go out there and rack up victories. So, you know, we'll see if they can go in there. We'll get to that in a little bit. But let's talk about the Rams offense a little bit. Austin Davis was 13 for 24, 105 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Not a great stat line by any means, but neither offense played really well, especially when you got a score of 13-10. But what does Austin Davis need to do to continue to grow in this offense and continue to be more consistent, as we talked about?
I think he just has to do a better job of preparation. I mean, he has to understand that teams are going to make adjustments for him week in and week out. I mean, as you have seen as the season progressed, he had a lot of success. He had a couple of games. He threw back-to-back 300-yard games. And as you notice, the numbers start going down because teams are throwing different things at him, and it's not going to change. So he has to do a better job also in preparing. And, when preparation meets opportunity, that's where you have the most success. And I think he has to do a lot in that. I mean, he missed Kenny Brett, when he threw that interception to Bethea. I mean, he had Kenny Brett wide open for a touchdown, and he underthrew him grossly. So those are those plays that he's going to have to make. But we also knew he was going to hit some sort of wall too, Ishmael. I mean, this is his first chance getting a chance to start in the NFL. And right now it's not working. Let's see what kind of adjustments that he makes from here on out.
All right, so I want to talk about 2 interesting plays, as we'll call them. First off, Tavon Austin, at the end of the first half, the 49ers went for a long field goal, ended up short. Tavon Austin caught it in the end zone, or maybe caught it out of the end zone, ended up running back in the end zone, almost got a safety. He was tackled. They had to review it. What do you think about that play? What is he thinking in that situation?
I tell you what, he wasn't thinking a lot. He wasn't thinking a lot at all. I mean, and I tell you something, as much as I have rallied the troops and I consider him one of my clients as I defend him from time to time from you and other people that follow this team on a regular basis, I mean, I'm getting a little annoyed by, his decision-making on the football field. I mean, one, his hands are iffy. Let's make no mistake about that. 2, his sense of direction while he's on the football field. Some of that cute stuff that was working in the Big 12 is not working at this level. I mean, you do have to make better decisions, and that could have been very costly, as we always say, that the Rams' margin for error is close to 0 or even lower than that, so you can't make those kind of boneheaded plays.
Yeah, and what was interesting to me is it seemed like in this game, the Rams got breaks that they normally don't get. That was one of them because that was really a toss-up 50-50 play. It could have been a safety. It could have been down on the 1. Which it ended up being, or on the 1-inch line, really. And then the last play of the game, of course, which is the big one, was all across SportsCenter, everyone talking about it. Colin Kaepernick, they had the ball on the 2 or the 1 yard line. Colin Kaepernick's going for the quarterback sneak, fumbles the snap, and then got the ball back. And you'll never know, going back looking at the replay, whether or not he crossed that line with the football. Ended up being a fumble. And again, the call by the officials there was critical, because if they would have said touchdown, because it looked like he definitely got across the line. The question is whether or not he had the football. But if the referees would have called touchdown and it goes to review, you couldn't see anything in that review. So whatever the call was, it's going to stand because there was no conclusive evidence of anything. So how does it feel to have the Rams be on the side of fortune for once, where they have two very close calls which could have possibly changed the game, and they got the call on both?
Well, it feels absolutely wonderful. And I just want you to know that it feels so wonderful to be on the receiving end of a such a gracious call. I mean, Colin Kaepernick, he's whining and complaining and saying, "Yeah, I crossed the goal line. Of course you crossed the goal line, but you didn't have the ball, son. The ball was in Laurinaitis' hands. He lost the ball." And I mean, that goes on him, but it also goes on the offensive coordinator too. I mean, Greg Roman. Isn't it nice? I mean, not to say, damn it, Brian Schottenheimer, why didn't you attempt, to get us in the end zone? But we saw that last year when the Rams played the Seattle Seahawks, and now it happened with the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams are fortunate for bad play calling, but they was also fortunate from that fumble because they could have very easily lost that game. I mean, they had a couple of breakdowns in the secondary. And listen, all three of the Rams win, Ishmael. I mean, they barely got it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they was really lucky in Tampa. I mean, they got lucky in the Seattle game. I mean, sometimes it's good to be lucky, man.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about the running game a little bit. Jeff Fisher continues to kind of operate with a running back by committee, although now we're seeing Trey Mason is getting the bulk of the carries. Fisher refuses to call him the starter, though. He won't anoint him as a starter. He just says, we have this group of running backs, but it looks like Trey Mason is going to be the workhorse from here on out, maybe, or maybe they're playing a hot hand. This game, he had 19 carries, 65 yards. It's only a 3.4-yard average. But again, he's the one who's getting 19, 20 carries per game all of a sudden.
Well, I mean, but you know what? I think he is the go-to back of the future. I mean, and he did a better job, I think, with the pass protection. He did a great job picking up a blitz that came through. I mean, he is really the future, I think, of the St. Louis Rams backfield. I think him and Benny Cunningham to make a great addition. Not knocking Zach Stacy. Zach Stacy is a solid player, but I mean, you get a little bit more with Mason. You get a little bit more with Cunningham, and even you get a little bit more with Watts. I mean, those guys are just something about them, what they lead, which help those guys get on the field. But I think in Mason's case is Ishmael. He just runs the ball well, and he's able to get outside, get to that perimeter. Some of those things that I was, kind of harping on these last couple of weeks, and now you see what he's able to do when you get him the ball, and then you say, hey, we need to give him the ball more. I think he needs to be the feature back, though.
Yeah, I agree, and I forget when it was and who it was, but I know he had one carry where towards the end of it he lowered that shoulder and trucked the defender, and that's the type of thing that gets the fan base hyped. That's the type of thing that, as a running back, that's going to get him hyped and excited as well. All right, well, let's talk about this coming week. As you mentioned before, the St. Louis Rams have the Arizona Cardinals, who are the division-leading Cardinals, which nobody really would have expected this at the beginning of the season. You said that the Rams will not be afraid going into there. Why do you think that is?
I just think that, with them carrying the momentum of beating San Francisco, and then they looking at the fact that, okay, 3 of our 5 wins have come against division opponents, and the Rams just seem to play better against a division against every other team outside of the division. So I think it's because it's that common opponent for them. So the fear factor isn't that the Rams should care less if the Cardinals are 7-1 or 8-0 or whatever the record is. They're division opponents, so they need to beat them and beat them soundly. But we've seen weirder things happen with the team. You just cannot predict them. I don't know what will be the rallying cry for the St. Louis Rams this upcoming week. Who knows what it's going to be? But I guarantee you this much: they love being in this position. They love being in this underdog role. It seems to fit them so well. Unfortunately, Ishmael, they still haven't had a winning season. They got 8 games remaining. We'll see what's going to happen on this back end of this season, this schedule, because it's hard.
You say they love being in the underdog position. I think they're just used to it. They're comfortable with it. It's not like they've been on the other side of that for a very, very long time. So I don't know if they love being underdogs. I think they would love to be favorites. They would love to be the team to beat. But we just have a while before they get there. Um, the Arizona Cardinals, they are 7-1, 4-0 at home. Carson Palmer is back healthy, and they're rolling right now through division. So it'll be interesting. What do you think? What's your pick in this game? Do you think the Rams will carry on that momentum and actually get the victory, or do you think it's just they'll play better now?
No, I think they're going to have their work cut out for them. They really do. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald had a monster game last week. They got another weapon in John Brown. You know, listen, Tremaine Johnson, even though it was good seeing him back there, he struggled mightily in coverage, and the Rams secondary was still really young. So they got their work cut out for them. I don't see them winning this game, but I see them being very, very competitive and giving the Cardinals a fight.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold yet. Like I said, I know the Rams generally play Colin Kaepernick and Russell Wilson and any mobile quarterback pretty well. Carson Palmer's more of a traditional drop back guy. Has a lot of weapons out there in Ellington and Fitzgerald and other wide receivers that they got. So I think this will be more of a normal game where the Arizona Cardinals will probably win. Maybe about 13 points. And the only thing is, this game, again, we got lucky. We were able to get one touchdown with Kenny Britt against the 49ers. But I think that offense is going to continue to struggle without Brian Quick. So really that running back core is going to have to step up. Trey Mason is playing well. Like I said, Benny Cunningham is catching the ball out of the backfield, but they're going to need to get more production out of those backs in order to win. And I think that, the Arizona defense is pretty stout. So I think the Rams just don't have enough weapons offensively. But it is nice to see their defense coming around. So maybe it won't be 13. Maybe it'll be 10, but I still think the Arizona Cardinals will probably win this week.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe maybe 24-16 or something like that. But like I say, the Rams' margin for error is just so small. I think the Cardinals have a lot of weapons in that passing game. And listen, I mean, that front seven is playing like it did last week. Then we got a totally different ball game because, like you say, I mean, Carson Palmer's not a very mobile quarterback. And if they get that kind of pressure on him, we got a totally different ball game right here because I think the Rams got enough running backs. They can grind the clock out. They can play that type of, ugly Jeff Fisher type football that they built to play that type of style anyway. So I don't think, the passing game may not be that neutralized. If you keep Austin Davis to maybe 20, 24 throws, I think you're doing a good thing. You control the ball and you also control that clock.
All righty. Well, one other thing that we wanted to talk about this week, Palmer, and you brought to my attention that Missouri Governor Jay Nixon held a phone press conference today, a conference call, 24 minutes with local reporters talking about his desire to keep the Rams in St. Louis. We know there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of talk about the Rams heading to L.A. after the season. They're pretty much free from the lease in the Edward Jones Dome. So how do you see this playing out, or can you explain what the governor wants to do, what his strategy is, and whether you think it's a good idea?
Well, I think it's a good idea that at least he came out and said something. Governor Nixon is not a very popular person right now, and we all know why, due to the Ferguson situation. And so, I think he did a good job of pointing Blitz and Peacock to this committee because this is their forte. They work with Anheuser-Busch on some large marketing campaigns. They got some close ties with the NFL. So, I mean, these guys are very reputable people. the thing that I know is going to be a big thing is they're going to talk about public funding, which is going to anger some people about that. And then there's some people saying, well, forget the Rams, let them go. And I think people that think that are stupid, and because they just don't remember the times from '88 to '94 when there was nothing going on downtown. The St. Louis Center was on its way down, all the way down. I mean, and then you look at what that dome did. So, and the Rams, Ishmael, 4 years after moving to St. Louis, they win a damn Super Bowl. I don't understand what the hell is these people talking about in this damn town. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So I'm encouraged about this, about Governor Nixon. I mean, that's the good thing that he did. He did in good faith. I mean, people just don't understand this. This moving to L.A. is a very complicated situation. He just cannot up and move the team, I mean, he owns 100% of the Rams. In order for him to move to L.A., he would have to give up a percentage of the Rams. He's not going to do that. He's been waiting this long to have 100%. He's a greedy billionaire. He hasn't even dissolved all his interests with the Denver Nuggets or the Colorado Avalanche. He still have the Altitude Network out there in Denver. He has the Root Network. This guy has money all over the place. So you think he's in a hurry to dissolve that? I don't think so. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's going to take time to get to LA, and like you said, it's a very complicated situation. For me, the thing with Governor Nixon, I mean, I'm not too excited about it. I mean, we know that the local area politicians want the Rams to stay here. Obviously, economically, it's good for St. Louis, and just good for the city's image to have an NFL team. But for a long time, we've heard silence on this issue, and we keep hearing rumors, we keep seeing stories from ESPN or CBS or Sports Illustrated or these other outlets saying, hey, the Rams are closer to moving. So that's all we've been fed for the past, 6-8 months. So now we finally hear that, the governor and, has appointed this person to come and, they're going to make this last minute push to keep the Rams. But, these conversations should have been going on all along. And there really should have been more information out there. I think part of that is Stan Kroenke. He likes playing things close to vest, kind of creeping up at the last minute, helps him at the bargaining table. But for me, I'm just kind of tired of the whole, thing, being unknown, just being out there in the open. Are they going to leave? Are they going to stay? So, good for Nixon that he's finally coming out and doing something. But like you said, maybe it's for other issues, but I'm not too excited about it. We'll see. I'm at the point where, I'm at the wait and see. Once we get there, we'll see what happens. But you don't want to mortgage, the city. It has to make sense for the city. Especially St. Louis City is already, doesn't have a whole lot of money, so you don't want them paying for the whole stadium. Like you said, Kroenke's got so much money, he can pay for the stadium himself. But you're going to have to make those concessions. And I definitely want the team to stay because, like you said, it was for a sports fan at least, being selfish for a sports fan to not have an NFL team, especially we don't have an NBA team. So it kind of sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that people don't remember the Cardinals put the city through the same thing. The Cardinals, they use East St. Louis, use that side of the riverfront as a bargaining chip. And what it do, it got people all pissed off because, people that live further out west in Baldwin and Ellisville and Wildwood, the thought of them having to drive to East St. Louis to watch the Cardinals or drive to Belleville or Fairview Heights, they wasn't about to have that. But that was enough to get it started. The Blues did the same thing, the same type of posturing to a degree, threatening to go to Saskatoon, threatening to go to Winnipeg, threatening to go to all these different places, up in northwestern Canada. Okay, I mean, this stuff happens. So you think about how entrenched the Blues and the Cardinals are and how beloved they are in certain communities in the St. Louis metropolitan area. The St. Louis Rams are just no different. They're no different. Matter of fact, hell, they've been to the playoffs. They won the big game over the Blues. They made it to 2 Super Bowls. in their times they've been. The Blues, they still having trouble getting out of the first round. You think they'd be a little bit better since Detroit went to the Eastern Conference. Now Chicago's the boogeyman, and now you add the Kings and the Ducks, and then you got the Sharks biting them in the ass. So we got a lot of people having problems, man.
got a Blues hater on the scene. I see a Blues hater on the scene. No, I get what you're saying, but again, the Rams have been so bad for so long as far as their record that people really don't want to hear that right now. They want to say, hey, you got to put a good product on the field. What's different from if I sell a phone, if I make a phone and there's a phone that doesn't work, that's crappy, that's slow, that this and that, then people aren't going to support my phone. If I say I'm going to take my phone and go, they're going to say, so what? That phone sucks. So some people have that same idea with the Rams. So, hopefully we can see them get a quality product on the field. It's been taking some time here, but I think they will be in a much better negotiating position if we were like a perennial playoff team.
Yeah, I know, man. Listen, I mean, I'm just looking at it from the standpoint is I remember what it was like when the Cardinals left, and I never forgot that. But I just remember how bad the Cardinals were. They only went listen, I'm 39, so I just remember everything from 80 to 87. I saw one playoff game. Okay, and they got smashed against Green Bay. Okay, so I saw Aiden had an 8-8 season. 8-7-1 season. I saw a strike season. I mean, and then the Rams come, and even with all the shenanigans, they still drawing 50, 55,000. The Cardinals were barely getting 15, 20. You know what I'm saying? So the Rams, all I'm saying is the Ram fan base has been way, way loyal. And I guess that's the reason why that's the way I feel that way. I didn't feel like the community didn't embrace the football Cardinals the way they should have and rallied behind them and kept going. But for the Rams, they still keep showing up, man. I have to tip my cap to them.
All right. Well, hopefully that'll get resolved soon. Like you said, it's a good thing that Nixon's getting involved, that he has a plan, that he has a strategy at least. So we know that things are going on behind the scenes. All right, Palmer, that's all that I have. Anything else that you'd like to add before we sign off this week?
No, just keep supporting the St. Louis American. We try to bring you the best coverage, whether it's sports, the Ferguson situation, no matter what you want, we got it right here, man.
All right, appreciate it. Once again, I'm Ishmael Sistrunk with the St. Louis American and STLAmerican.com, here with Palmer Alexander III, and we're signing off from the Rams Roundup. See you next week.